We're saying hi, this is Paul from Strong Too Tight.
Stephen here, hello.
And we have the absolute living legend, the self-proclaimed GOAT of the newest, for me, the best, and certainly the fastest growing sport internationally in the world, Mr. Rashid Ahmad. Thank you for coming on board today, Rashid.
Evening, Paul. Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on.
No, I mean, gosh, having people like yourself who, especially at times like this, I can only see on the news, obviously, what it's like in the UK, but we seem to be having an absolute mare here. Let's just say that. So how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. The way I look at this is it's 6 feet apart or 6 feet under. It's quite straightforward. Just do what you're told for a couple of months. And just take it. I mean, people survived Auschwitz, and we're complaining about a couple of months in our house. I can't complain at all. I refuse to. I would love to be on court playing. I would love to be out meeting my friends. I'd love to be. I'm not in a jail cell 6x8 or something. You know, being preserved for prison stop. You know, I think the most people in the world have got it pretty lightly compared to. What it's really like in some of the places like, I don't know, India, or some of the people in the slums, even where you are in Dubai, where they're workers that are 9 per household. Yeah, we've got it pretty easy. If we're on a Zoom call, we have nothing to complain about. Nothing. The fact that we're on a Zoom call says we have enough technology, we have enough money, and enough time to be doing this and not wrapping a rope around our necks, hanging ourselves because we're so broke and can't support our families. That's my tuppence worth.
Well, I have to say I can't disagree. I mean, we had a guy, you wouldn't know the guy. He's a local radio DJ, very, very popular here, called Chris Fade, last week. And similar to what you've just said, I mean, you know, we've got to try and sort of take heed of what we've got and not complain about what we haven't got. And you have people complaining that they work too much, they do too much, they don't get a chance to spend time with their family. For Alicia and I, it's you know, we kind of have had a tough one because, you know, we're in a small apartment where there's no balconies, so you're not allowed out of the house. But yeah, other than that, you know, it's just making the most of it.
Yeah, it's a tough time, but it's an okay time. It's a crying time. Let's call it that, crying time.
Well, we've managed to get you on better sound, but we've now lost your picture.
How interesting is that? I have no idea why that might be. Let me go back to Zoom. I'm having to. I'm on Zoom. I'm on this call. It's live on Facebook. It's start video. Try that.
We're just going to see that wonderful backhand.
Yeah, it's 1 in a million, isn't it? Hide self view. Let's try reconnecting. Show self view. I genuinely don't know, mate. I can't even imagine how one would switch camera. Oh, hang on. For some reason, there you go.
Nope.
Try it again.
Well, look, I mean, as you're doing it, what we can do is we can start throwing out some questions to you. Basically, as you know, Paul, who's also online on today, and I have been very, very much charging the fort when it comes to touch tennis over here. He's taken it far further than I expected. He's got his own court now in his garden. I tell you, if I was him, Rashid, I'd be having people come around paying 100 dirham just to play with me.
Yeah. Hang on. So there you go. I've switched to my FaceTime camera, which is an appalling camera. I don't know if you can hear me and if you've got a slightly better, a picture at all.
Your picture now is perfect. I can see you. I can see you a lot closer, and the sound quality is a lot better.
Yeah.
So, Rashid, do me a favor, right? I just want to start at the absolute beginning. Apologies, because I know that everybody's asked you this question, but for people who don't know, how the hell did you take something from playing in the garden with your daughter to what is now the fastest growing professional sport in the world?
Professional, I don't know about, because I don't think many of us are. Fastest growing, I don't know. I have a feeling that the wife carrying championships that they had in Scotland recently might be the fastest growing. There's some ridiculous games out there that I'm seeing that make me laugh every day. I love games like that. And look, I mean, in my garden, we used to play joust, where you would kneel on a mate's back and they would run at each other with a mop, and you had to take each other out. So I was always playing stupid games, absolute, nutcase games in my garden. When my brother and I were kids, like 12 years old, him, and 5 years old, me, we used to play Lego cricket, where we made a Lego cricket field, and there was a bowler with a rubber band, and if you pulled the rubber band, it threw a marble at the batter, and the batter twisted and hit the ball. So we were always coming up with stupid games to play, because I grew up in a house that was so small, and the garden was the size of a postage stamp. We were always trying to find ways to play games that existed out there in a smaller space. I guess that's probably where this came from. And when my brother came round to see what I was doing to play with my daughter using these sort of, well, not these, but Slazenger made a ball like this back then. Yeah. And they stopped making it in the factory that we now use for these balls because it was too expensive. And as many of you probably know, Mike Ashley's not one for spending a lot of money. So we decided, let's get our own ball. But go back to my brother's point, we were playing this silly game, and when my friends came over, people that I played tennis with a lot, we found ourselves playing more of this than actually playing tennis, which we'd booked to go and play at the local tennis club. And we'd end up in my garden just playing this weird game where you were only allowed to hit up. And bit by bit it grew. I moved out to Surrey from central London and had a bigger garden. So we built the first ever official dimensions court. And bit by bit, I just goaded people like you, just said, take me on, I'll absolutely destroy you, you're nobody. I used to say that to everyone. I said that to Dan Evans, Josh Goodall, Marcus Willis, Chris Eaton, you name it. Had them come over to the house, slapped them around, sent them packing. Never played them again. Refused. Played them one set to 10, one tiebreak to 10, one, get out. They're like, what? I'm like, get out my house. They're like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, 100%, get out my house. And they're like, well, one more rematch. We're like, okay, sure, and just turn the camera off. Right, we'll have a rematch. All we care about is what's on camera. And I would post that stuff on Facebook, on YouTube. I still do this, by the way. I've not grown up suddenly. I still do this. I'll play somebody, absolutely get much. So Justin Sherring, you may know him. He's Joe Conter's coach, was her coach. Coach Chris Eaton, Jack Draper. Very, very, very good coach. Unbelievable hands as well when he plays. Comes to the barn in February, and he beats me 4-love, 4-love, 4-1, 4-love. And you should watch the video highlights. 5 of the best points I've ever played. They're the only 5 points I won, and they're the only thing that go up on YouTube. Why would I, no proof, no glory. That's the way I see it. I don't care what he says the score was. People only remember what they see on Instagram, and that's the way I keep it. And so, you'd end up with more and more people. I've probably done more for GoPro camera sales than I have for racket or sports sales around the world. People have bought their own action cameras, they've turned up to events, and they've stuck their cameras on when they're playing me because they absolutely desperately want to have a video shot of them hitting a winner past me that they can share. The problem is they don't control the Facebook accounts with 50, 60,000 social media followers that I've got. So if I share it, it has a lot more impact than them sharing it to their 1,000 friends. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, you record it, do whatever you want to do with it. But I always put up the best highlights. But now I don't play on the tour anymore, so there's not so much of that. It's only when people come to the touch tennis headquarters, which is near Guildford. If they come by, Fernando Gonzalez, a good example, came by the barn. Only video you've got is me beating him, like hitting winners. No one sees the fact that he absolutely crushed me every time the ball was on his forehand. I got to say, this is a foam ball. It's dense. It's 8 centimeters, and it's quite heavy. You've played with them. 30 grams. He hit that, and I thought it was a golf ball coming out of a bazooka launcher at me. I'd never seen anything like it. I stood there and I thought, where's my Kevlar? Oh no, I'm just going to have to take this one in the body. And this was tattooed back to front on my chest. Wow, that guy could hit the ball so hard. It was scary. And within 5 minutes of playing, it wasn't his forehand that was actually as worrying. It was his backhand. It just boom. I'll upload a video of his backhand later on the touch tennis page, and you'll see, God, that guy. To have the hand-eye coordination and to get a ball like this up and down in such a compact court, crazy skills. I guess you just don't get to finals of the Aussie Open. You don't get to beat guys like Fed and Agassi and Sampras unless you are incredibly, incredibly gifted and worked hard. But yeah, and what a lovely, humble guy. Incredible, so humble, so self-deprecating in his humor as well. Like, wow, okay, because I know if I'd won as many titles as him, I'd struggle to be that humble.
Well, I don't doubt that for a second, Ahmed. No, I'm sorry, Rashid. I don't doubt that for 1 second at all.
Even though people call me the god of humility, I'm too humble to share that.
Well, I think you've been a brother.
What was that?
I was just going to say quickly, did you take him to Wetherspoons in Guildford on the corner afterwards?
I refuse to go to Wetherspoons, sadly.
Good answer.
Right, well, Rash, straight away, we've actually got 4 or 5 questions up, so I'm going to ask Mr. Godwin to come off mute and ask his question. He's got a great question to start you off. So.
Hi, Rashid. Nice to meet you, actually, for the first time. And so I've had the pleasure of playing touch tennis here in Dubai, thanks to both Pauls, actually. I've played some tournaments here and stuff, and I've really, really enjoyed getting to know the actual sport. I love tennis, like you started off playing tennis. But my question is, what has been the hardest challenge to actually get touch tennis kind of off the ground? I mean, you're using lots of social media, and I'm seeing it, I'm following it on Instagram. But in terms of like sort of now the big tournaments that are kind of picking up as well, what's been the hardest challenge?
Well, for starters, let me get a note of your Instagram handle so I can remember to follow you back. Send me that. No.
No, not you.
It's something I'm not actually like, so that I'm not Instagram, but I follow you. But I'm Aid Godwin.
Aid Godwin.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, must follow you back. So, what have been the hardest challenges? The hardest challenges have actually been so easy now, when in hindsight, to overcome. There was a period in my life where someone had criticised touch tennis, so they'd slag it off and they'd be like, "Oh, why don't you just play tennis?" Or, "Oh, what a stupid game!" Or, "It's a an idiot's game, kids game," blah blah. And I used to let that bother me, and then I realised you can't change people who are closed-minded. There's a beautiful saying Herbert Spencer wrote in a book that's quite famous. He said, "There is a bar which is a principle that can keep a man in everlasting ignorance. It is a bar against all information and all knowledge. And that principle is contempt prior to investigation." So they've already slagged something off in their mind. There's nothing you're going to do to change their mind. So I just ignore them and I focus on the people that actually matter. So people like you, for example, saying, "Oh, I follow you, I'm interested in what you're doing." I will give you 100 times my energy compared to the energy I used to focus on going, "Well, you're wrong, it's good fun." And yeah, I wasted so much of my time on that. And it's painful now to look back on it and think, I actually bothered trying to convince idiots to be clever. You can't. Someone who's closed-minded, I'm referring to as an idiot, because I think if your mind's closed to that, I wonder what other opportunities in life they've missed out on because they've rubbished them before they've had a chance to even try them. It's a sad state for them. And I just think, you know what, your loss. So that was the biggest challenge, was overcoming that internal hurdle rather than an external hurdle. I'd set myself up by allowing resentment, bitterness and stuff to take a space in my life when actually you just block them, delete them, end of story. And now it's just so much more fun. It really is. I engage with people all the time on social media. I still handle the accounts. I still handle all the direct messages. And we get about 100 direct messages a day. And I refuse to have someone not get a reply from me unless it's one of those aforementioned tools.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Right, I'm going to move over to the other Paul that took touch tennis far, far, far further than me. Paul, if you'd like to come off and ask your question to Ahmed, to Rash. So, Rash, sorry, my boss is called Ahmed, so I've got him on the brain at the moment.
That's all right, SP.
No worries. Thanks, Rash. Paul.
Hi, Rashid. Obviously, we play a lot of touch tennis out here, so we've seen some of the really good touch tennis players that currently play the sport obviously all online, etc., etc. At what point do you think we're going to see, let's say, some top 200 tennis players start playing this, whether it be warming up for their tournaments, or whether they're coming back from injury, or whether they just want to play it for a bit of fun, or whether they get knocked out of an ATP event early and then come and play some touch tennis? Will that happen?
I don't doubt it will happen, but I think it's probably going to be a bit more like futsal. It'll be the retired ones. I think the people who are in that zone to be, I mean, the minute you're inside the top 200, I think all you're thinking about and are consumed with, when you read the books that Sampras, Agassi wrote, or Connors, they all talk about how when they got to that milestone of 500, by the way, the best thing in the world is that plant behind you. It makes you look like you've got a mohawk. Like your hair's going all over the place because that plant's directly behind you. Such a look. Don't ever change that. There, that's it. Yeah, stay right there. I think they're so focused on cracking the top 100 that they just have blinkers on at that point, and it's very hard for them to see anything other than that next level of development for them. And then once they get to as good as they're going to get to, I heard one of the hosts, the guy you had on here, I think it may have been Ruben Hidalgo, was saying that he was really focused on his singles. Then he decided after 5 or 6 years of beating his head against the wall, he was going to try doubles, and he did very well there. A bit like Marcus Willis now is doing. He's focusing on his doubles career. I don't think will be a sport that those people regularly attend. I don't think with any regularity. They'll show up to events like we have occasionally seen, but unless the money is really, really big, I doubt very much we'll get a situation where we get a lot of those people turning up. Not like the old days, and we don't really market so much to them anyway.
Okay, are you okay, Paul? Anything else?
No. I mean, it would just be. I don't know, and obviously it's up to Rashid where and what he wants to do with it. But it would be amazing to see the level of a top 100 ATP player playing touch tennis compared to the top touch tennis players at the moment, if that makes sense. But obviously, as you say, it's probably not likely to happen anytime soon. But yeah, I'm just wondering whether it'd be possible. And yeah, I know, like you're quite friendly with Nick Kyrgios and stuff, so I wondered whether that would be an option.
Well, the thing is, this is where it becomes difficult. So let's say somebody who's in the top 100 ATP, they're already earning probably somewhere in the region of 250 to $1 million a year. Let's say if we average that out. The challenge you're going to find is getting somebody to turn up with any regularity or enough regularity to that event, to our events, for them to show how good they are. So Fernando Gonzalez lost to Clayton Edge. And let's be honest, he wasn't trying his hardest. And he's 100 times more talented than most of the people from 50 to 100 in the current ATP. He really is. He's one of those people that was one of the top guys in the game. Anyone who got to the top 5 is pretty special. Dan Evans has played touch tennis. He wasn't that good. I think it's the handsy, really handsy people. So people like Fabrice Santoro would probably do more damage on a touch tennis court than Joe Wilfried Tsonga, even though Tsonga was 7-8 in the world. I think it's the really handsy players. So it wouldn't necessarily be age determined so much by age. You could probably get somebody that was former ranked number 20 in the world, but was a joke hands, someone like Leander Paes, taking out, who's the number 8 ATP right now? I have no idea. I don't even follow tennis.
Someone like Zverev.
Someone like Zverev. I mean, you really think Zverev would beat Leander Paes at touch tennis?
No way.
You know what I mean? So I don't think you need a top 100 to see what those levels are. I think actually you need someone with really good court craft and really, really excellent hands and quick thinking. And that's why I think Roberts is so good. When he's played guys like Willis or something who got to 300 in the world and he only got to 750, and he's just almost unbeatable. I think, someone like Eaton, who only got to 307 ATP, but had incredible hands, really incredible hands, and a wonderful kick serve. I think that's key, how good your kick serve is. that tells you a lot. If they've got those two weapons, then I think that's as good as you're going to find out. I don't think there's that much difference between someone 100 in the world ATP and someone 800 in the world when it comes to hands and up here. Then inside the top 100, that's everything. Everything's up here. But 100 down to 1,000, they're all pretty much the same.
Thank you, Paul. Right, I'm going to go on to Hossein now. So Hossein is somebody who I'm going to be introducing, I think, to touch tennis over the next week or so, Rashid. So, Hossein, if you want to unmute.
Yeah, so I've got some quick questions. I'll try and keep them brief. First one, how does it differ to mini red sponge ball tennis?
First question. So a mini red ball is designed to land. Most of the balls are non-consistent in their construction, and they can be anywhere from 8 centimeters to 11 centimeters in diameter. Very, very heavy, and they're designed for kids to absolutely hit the living daylights out of them and then never go long or ever bounce over shoulder height for a 5-year-old, which is what the ITF were trying to do to bring people's grips round, because children were all hitting with that grip. So they tried to bring kids' grips round to that. And the way they did that was by using heavier and heavier balls. So you now see the Babolat ball, for example, the ball that Decathlon are now producing. They're heavier and heavier, but they don't have the bounce height that we have or the longevity of our ball. Our ball's designed to go between knee and shoulder height. So we have a simple bounce test. From 2 meters, it must land, it must bounce back between 49 and 98 and 102 centimeters. So someone's hitting a kick serve from 2 meters and it comes down. It should get that higher than that because it's got some slap on it. But a drop bounce from a drop height should be 50%. So that means it's a faster game by some margin, but it also requires a lot of touch to get the ball down again rather than just slap it and it not go long. The other extreme of mini red is they either use a felt ball, which, I mean, someone like Paul Sheaves, who was just asking a question just then, I mean, we played at Weybridge 5 or 6 years ago for fun, and he slapped a couple of balls at me, and it was a foam ball, and I still felt it. If he did that with a red felt ball, I'd have been in hospital. Those things aren't designed for very good tennis players to hit at each other. And the other, right at the bottom extreme, is the people like Zig, who manufacture a 15-centimeter foam ball, a 15-gram foam ball that can't be played with outdoors. It's just so light, and it's designed to just be slapped. There's no tennis technique required. You could just badminton the ball over the net. So that's where we sit in terms of differences of the ball and its construction and how it's designed to react with players.
Okay. Quick question. Have you ever played Jay Clark?
No, I haven't actually. I'm good friends with his sister. I've met him a few times at Wimbledon. And
I only ask because he often plays proper tennis with his brother, David Lloyd. They have a long hit, and then afterwards they go and hit with a sponge ball, and they seem to have a roll of the time. So I just wondered if you'd played him. No,
I mean, he knows of touch tennis. He's very bold on social media. I offered him 10 grand if he was man enough to play me to charity. Surprise, surprise, he said no.
Right, okay.
So, maybe if he grows a pair. Grows a little bit in maturity.
Okay, final question. Do you promote it at university level?
We don't promote. Touch tennis's policy is very simple. It's attraction rather than promotion.
Right, okay.
So otherwise we would spend money on promoting and putting ourselves out there rather than the way we currently approach it, which is to produce great content, which is to give people and facilitate good tournaments and good venues, ladder systems, leagues, and that sort of stuff, and a laugh. And those that like that will kind of see it from afar and go, I wouldn't mind trying that, rather than us try and force anything down someone's throat. But we've had a lot of success. There are 70 colleges and universities in the United Kingdom that play touch tennis, again, through attraction, not promotion.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thanks, Hossein. So, Stephen, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Hi, Rashid. How are you doing?
Hey, very well, thanks, Stephen. You?
Just moving on from Hussein's point, yeah, good, thank you. So yeah, just moving on from Hussein's point about the red tennis, do you think, in your opinion, that obviously touch tennis would be a far better learning tool at a young age than, say, playing with red balls, where obviously there are certain limitations tactically, technically, etc. Has the LTA mentioned anything? Obviously, I know you're now accredited, I believe, which is awesome. But do you think maybe touch tennis could be a better way to go for the little ones?
Problem is, I don't have a tennis background. I was a writer, a commentator, and a analyst of it, all from afar. I mean, I always loved the game, but I don't have anywhere near the experience, let's say, of SB or Sheaves, or I don't know if you're a coach or how involved you are in tennis. I just don't know. See, a part of me thinks that. So let's break this down into two parts. Tennis coaches have a great challenge when they're working with children aged 4, 5, and 6, and 7, up to 10, let's say, where parents want to see instant gratification. They also are challenged by the fact that, well, my son lost to him and he was coached by him and that's why I'm going to go to him. So you've got to protect your livelihood. That's tough to start with. So I can't imagine how difficult that is. Secondly, so you've got to get results and you've got to work within the confines of the existing tennis structure, and that's red, orange, green. So with that, it's also tough to keep kids interested in a game that they feel completely unrewarded by. And I know that with the touch tennis ball, whilst they would become a better tennis player, I believe, long term, and I one day see a system where there's only two things. There's touch tennis as one ball, and the other one is just your standard tennis ball, a yellow ball. There won't be green, red, orange, nothing like that. That's what I do see happening somewhere along the line. Not that it's a goal of mine, but I just see that becoming the norm. So that part of it is where you've got to be challenged to give them results, make them feel rewarded. The secondary side of that, though, is I just think they would be better tennis players if they did use it, because they wouldn't get rewarded with the current balls for doing that. I mean, that is not a tennis stroke, and you see it so often. When I'm around, I'll go and see a friend at a center who runs a center. Let's say go see Justin, and I'll see some of the kids playing red tournaments or something. Or if I've gone to a venue to check out whether we can hold a tournament there, and I just think, as soon as you move up to orange balls, you're really going to struggle. Or as soon as you move to green, you're in hell. Because with an orange ball, I mean, I can hit that ball with any technique and it's still going in. I mean, I struggle to send an orange ball long with a 23-inch racket. It's probably easier with a 27, or if you've got some talent or a modicum of skill, which I don't. I just go bang, and it doesn't go long. And I just think, the minute you go to a green ball, how are you going to cope with playing against any kid? And then I see your dilemma as coaches. You're like, now this kid's got to 10, he's getting blown away by somebody that didn't bother following this and went for the hard and painful route. So that's, I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yeah, because I kind of agree with you with the balls, especially. The jump from red to orange, I think, is for 95% of people too big. Right. People either do it too early or the kids are too small, so suddenly they're getting a bouncy ball and they've got absolutely... And then a technique they've been learning for 3 years has gone out the window. And it's just about getting the ball in, etc. So there's definitely something to look into about closing that gap of moving up. Like you said, maybe it's just the touch tennis ball up to, like you say, up to the yellow ball. Yeah. I think too much work gets lost in that transition from red to orange. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, it must be tough from a coaching perspective, watching someone get so disheartened aged 8 or 9, and then you end up being a psychotherapist as well as a coach. You're literally trying to say, guys, I'm really sorry you're going through this, and don't worry, it's worth it. And that's why I think maybe if you could put that pain at the beginning, don't worry, it's worth it. Just stick with this; it will be worth it. We'd have a lot less people falling out of tennis age 12 or 13 when they realised that all their successes when they were top of the tree with a red ball and then an orange ball are gone once they move to a green or a yellow ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I recently actually posted on Facebook, you might have seen the comments, that for me, you watch people like Nadal and Federer and Murray even when they were aged 11, 12, and you just wonder why they became some of the greatest players ever, because then I've seen better players. You know, Liam Brody was one of the best 11-year-olds I've ever seen. Ken Skupski was probably the best 11-year-old I've ever seen. But these guys obviously did a lot better.
Yeah. What, you think that's because they went straight to a green ball, a yellow ball?
No, do you know what? I mean, I'm a big advocate of the balls. The reason I'm a big advocate of the balls is because I think people don't understand that it's not necessarily for the ones that are very, very good. But that's the problem, is that the ones that are very good, they can come through the system very quickly. I was playing with yellow balls when I was 8 years old and 9 years old with Justin. I'm sure that Stephen was the same, and I'm sure most of us were the same. But the problem was that it was the people beneath me. In my school, in my primary school, I only know of 2 people who played tennis. I mean, yes, it was the 80s, but only 2 people played tennis, and that was my brother and I. So for me, the concept of mini tennis or the ball situation was more about getting more people in it. The problem is that parents have taken it on board and thought, I can get some success, I can have my trophy child, and they've taken it to levels now where, I mean, Steve and I just cannot stand the competition that's going on in mini tennis. It's pointless. It's actually ruining tennis, in our opinion. I don't want to speak for Stephen, but what you said about the balls, I agree completely. I think that touch tennis balls and touch tennis should basically be under 10s tennis. If you want to compete at under 10s tennis, it should be touch tennis if you want to compete. And then, you know, just have the development. Neil Skupski was on the other day, and he hardly competed at under 14 level. We all knew about him, but he hardly competed.
Yeah. See, that's probably where I might offer an opinion that doesn't necessarily sit well with the tennis fraternity. I think competitions under the age of 14 should be banned. Full stop. Or at least 13 and under. Ban them all. There's no need.
I'd say primary level. I don't think we should have competition at primary level. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I prefer to just, you know, completely ban them all the way across to like 12, 13 years old. Let kids just have fun. Just let them hit the ball over the net to each other. Too many people are like, oh, let's have 40 hours of individual coaching a week and 19 tournaments a year at age 11. Well, yeah. Funny, you get burned out at 14. Why is that? You know? So I think it's certainly in the modern day, we have such shortened attention spans because we have so many things vying for our attention. It's going to be tough to get people that committed to tennis unless they can perhaps discount some of the competitions they play or remove them from their schedule and have a bit more fun.
Well, it's funny actually, because even now we try and find the positives in this lockdown, but one thing that is abundantly clear here in the UAE, I don't know if it's happening in the UK, is that there will not be any inter-school competitions in sport for next year. I don't know if it's happening in the UK, but here it's already been banned. There will not be any inter-school competitions whatsoever. No sporting ones. Everything will be within the same school.
And that's what, for 2021?
That's for the school year starting September right the way through.
Wow, that's pretty dramatic.
Well, obviously because of the COVID situation, they have to try and limit restrict the way that the kids are acting. So having a football match is going to be a disaster, and there's a lot of school competition here. So you can look at that from a negative perspective, but you can also, like we're doing now, we can look at it from a positive perspective and say, okay, well that actually gives us more of a chance to hone the talents of the kids, to not put the pressure. Half the time the pressure, we talk about parental pressure, but half the time the pressure for the schools, for coaches to put on competitions is actually put on by parents. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The parents are the ones who are trying to beat one another. And that's why I think if you abolish competitions, you'd abolish a lot of pushy parents. You'd get rid of them because they wouldn't be able to. Well, maybe they'd find another way to compete by, buying the latest Ferrari or by being the person that beats their child the most regularly. I don't know what, but I don't know what psychotic parents like that do with their spare time. If you tell them they can't, punish their children for not competing at the highest level. I certainly believe that as far as raising your children is concerned, I mean, the running joke is that I won 20 slams against my children when they were 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old. But let's look at any seriousness. None of them play tennis. None of them. You know, they don't compete because I don't force them to. They happen to be, from what I can imagine or from what I see, relatively happy and balanced human beings. And they didn't have any need to go out and prove anything to the world on a daily basis. I think I'd rather have a world full of children like that than a world full of children that must win at all costs.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I've got a question for you then. I want to lighten it up a little bit for you, Ashton. I'm conscious of time. I'm assuming that you're a very, very busy guy, so I don't want to extend it too far. If you could choose anyone of any era to play doubles with,
Sampras.
You two,
Immediate. There's no debate. Next question: who would you like to have a drink with? Sampras. Next question: who would you like to, have kids with? Sampras. I mean, keep going, mate.
You should have come on with Jules because Jules used to be his practice partner in their lane.
Oh, really? You're kidding me?
Yeah.
I had to get my wife's computer in here to connect to Zoom because I'm not allowed to use Zoom because of the companies I work with. It's not secure enough. Okay. So I had to bring this in here to do this. And because Paul Sheave said, get on, they're doing a great show. And I was like, yeah, I can't get on it, which kills me a little bit. But now I'm going to have to requisition this computer to watch more of your shows.
No, that's good. No, Jules used to train with him. So, I mean, Jules and I have known each other for about 8 years. And when he told me that, I was like, oh! Yeah. So, yeah, Sampras is my guy. Okay, well, since you've answered that one, who would you choose to play doubles against with Sampras?
It would have to be Agassi, and I'm going to go controversial here. Either Yuri Novak or Carol Kuchera, just because of those backhands. I would love to see those flat spank two-handers on the ad side against my kick serve. I actually wouldn't mind them passing Sampras at the net with that. I mean, those two, they just always rang out for me. Carol Kuchera and Yuri Novak, just bang. I mean, they used to blast that thing so hard.
What about something like Safin then in that situation?
Yeah, Safin. Safin and Agassi would be an unbelievable partnership. But yeah, Kuchera and Yuri Novak, those two guys, they just both hit everything so flat. There was absolutely no spin on either shot.
Yuri Novak actually was the first winner of the Dubai Duty Free Tennis Championships.
Was he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was the first one to win it at 28 years ago, I think it is now. So,
right.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, well, another question, which is kind of similar, but it's not. You're not playing with them. It's like, which 4 professionals of any era would you like to have seen play touch tennis in their prime? So I think you've mentioned 2 for sure, but I'd also like you to include females. So 4 men, 4 women.
Yeah, no, there was going to be one immediately anyway. The 2, without a doubt, would have been Monica Seles and Martina Hingis, without a shadow of a doubt. Just because Hingis used to play 20 minutes of sort of touch tennis before every match. And she had just, in my opinion, one of the cleanest ball strikers in the history of any sport. I mean, how else can you go up against Lindsay Davenport, quarterfinals, Justine Henardin, semifinals, and then Serena Williams in the final? That power coming at you for 3 matches and just half volleying everything. I mean, what a beautiful ball striker. Seles in her prime, definitely be unbelievable to have her on court. And then I guess, you could chuck in Sampras and Becker.
Ooh, I'd choose Edberg over Becker any day of the week for touch tennis.
Yeah, see, I grew up, the reason I fell in love with tennis was Becker. He was the very reason I fell in love with tennis. And watching Edberg beat him in 88 and 90 still breaks my heart.
It's all right. Well, 89 breaks my heart. So
I think the good thing is Becker ended up with a higher number on the head-to-head over Edberg. I think it was like 2019 or something.
But I think Edberg got more slams.
No, they got the same number, 6 each.
They both get 6.
Mm. Becker got his 6th at the 1996 Australian Open.
I actually had the pleasure of hitting with Becker in the Wirral International. The year that, I don't know if you knew this story, but he was signed up to play the Wirral International, which is a small tournament on grass just before Wimbledon.
Right.
And it was him and McEnroe.
Right.
He won it. He won the whole thing. And there was a deal in the contract that if you went on to win Wimbledon after winning the Wirral International, you get £1 million. In, I think it was 1989. It must have been 1989.
Yeah.
And £1 million in 1989 was pretty huge. And the reason why was that Boris Becker was a wild card, last minute entry into it. He wasn't going to do it. But the story goes that he heard about this and entered it, played it, won it. He beat the coach of Federer when Federer first came onto the tour.
Peter Carter.
No, the other one, the one after him, the drunk one.
Yeah. I remember the one.
Was it?
Not Lundberg. Not Peter Carter. Peter. He then went on to coach Safin, didn't he?
Yeah. And he turned up extremely drunk for the BTCA conference at the National Tennis Centre when I went, and it was embarrassing. But that's a different story. But yeah, so he won it. Was supposed to win the £1 million, and then they claimed that there was a very small print at the bottom of the contract saying unless it was Boris Becker and John McEnroe. So we actually lost the tournament from then on because it was in a court case forever. Wow. Which they didn't win, but there we go. Anyway, so Becker did not win, but it cleaned out the guy who did it, a guy called Borg. I don't know, Anders Borg his name was. So Steve might know Anders Borg actually because he's from Liverpool. But there we go. That's a bit of a useless.
I know that guy. He still runs the Liverpool Invitational, doesn't he? Yeah,
he took over. Yeah. Well, he started doing that. That used to be something called the Calderstones Liverpool Parks tournament, which I've actually won as it happens. And I think Stevens even played that at a young age.
Nobody entered it. It was a baby tournament.
Right, there you go. So yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic tournament. I mean, but what I would say is that the courts were like that on an angle of about sort of 20 degrees. So
slice serve one way, kick serve the other way.
100%. And then you'd have like guys driving across with their bikes, and like because it's Liverpool, you'd be like, "Can you get off the court?" And they'd be like, "No, do you want to?" I can't really say what we're. But yeah, basically, you were getting like crap thrown at you and stuff. So it was all good fun. Steve's home, basically. Steve, do you want to the next question of Rash?
Well, I was interested. I was going to bring something up this is for our UAE fans. You said last year that there is, and I'm quoting here now, there's not much competition in Dubai in terms of touch tennis standard. So it leads me to my next question. When are we having a game? GB versus UAE? Because we've got some good players.
You've got nobody. You're a bunch of bunnies. You're a bunch of chumps. Wipe the floor with you with both hands tied behind our backs and the racket between our teeth. Okay, so you've got Paul Sheaves, who's never been beyond the round of 16 at a slam. You've got Roberts, granted, modern day top player. Who else have you got?
Peruta.
I've beaten
Peruta. He's all right, but let's be honest. Peruta would get cuffed by Roberts. Like, one and love. Guaranteed.
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, Roberts is incredible. I'm not quite. I've never seen anything like Roberts play touch tennis. He's unbelievable. But you have to see Charles play. I mean, Charles played Paul. Paul can come off mute if he wants on this one. He lost the first set, and he got ruined from then on. And it was just Charles just stepped up to a gear, which was. I
remember that. That was at the indoor school event that you held, right?
No. This was actually at the Aviation Club on the centre court.
Right. I mean, Sheaves isn't not. I mean, he's signed out of the conversation anyway. He said he had to go. And I'll say this about him before. Again, he's not somebody that I use as a benchmark. I mean, I can put money on Hassan beating Sheaves 1 and love. Yeah. Right now, today, if they played 1 and love or 1-1 at best. At best. So the benchmark is Roberts, let's say. How would Charlie play against him? I mean, I've seen Charlie play him. He looks good. He's got a massive serve, his forehand's quite big, and he's got good hands as well. Like, he really cuts the ball and chops and changes it. But let's say you had a team of him, and let's say you include Roberts and Sheaves and one other, right?
We've also got Vernice. You don't know Christophe Vernice, whose hands are a joke. Okay,
so let's say you pick those four as your players, and then you put them up against Alex Miotto, Adam Hassan, Matt Gollidge, and Marcus Willis. I'm sorry, you're just getting pumped. I mean, you're lucky to win sets, let alone matches. And that's me being generous. I'm just... I mean...
There's an easy way to settle this.
That's without me including myself in this.
Who would win out of Rashid and Paul Espy?
I'd cuff Espy. Just make it best of 29 sets. I'd do it for fitness. I'd lose the first 10 sets just so I could just make him vomit.
Stephen's actually very good at it, but he's the lazy. I mean, I'm bad. He's so lazy at touch tennis. He's so lazy.
Once I beat Roberts, I knew I'd done everything I need to.
You've beaten Roberts, have you?
Yeah, a couple of times.
At Tiddlywinks or at touch tennis?
No. Touch tennis.
Right. Okay. I'll ask Roberts later whether or not that happened. Whether he was asleep at the time or whether he didn't receive the invitation to the match.
Yeah, it was in my dreams.
Yeah.
No, I have to say, when I saw Roberts play live, I mean, he's impressive on the videos and everything you show.
Yeah.
But my God, live, Jesus.
Yeah. It's the revolutions on that ball when he hits a slice. Because everyone always comments on the YouTube and the videos, and it makes me laugh. They always say, "Oh, why don't you just come into the net?" Well, first of all, that ball has been cut surgically as it's coming at you. So your volley off that slice is going to be up, which gives him a pass. Unless you storm the net, and you do take it early, when you storm the net at high speed, your volley generally is going to be fast as well, because of the speed of your body and racket. Unless you're gifted enough to run in and just drop it at an angle like that, really gently. Even then, look at the videos, he picks those up. Let's say you don't do that. You run in and smack a volley. He just sticks a lob up in the air or passes you. And he'll lob you 9-10 times until your soul's gone. He is another level. And people think of him as a grinder because he hits so many slices on the backhand. What they don't realize is quite how much spin he puts on his forehand. He's got that extreme Western grip, and he just rips that ball. And it's when you're on court against it. Again, I've been courtside and thought, why don't people just do this, do that? But then I play him and I remember it's not easy to do. The ball's actually always leaving the court and going up over the lines. So if that's your baseline, it's rising over the baseline. If that's your sideline, it's skidding through your sideline. You're never getting set enough to really put him under pressure the way he's able to soak up pressure that you put him under. He's always better at doing that than you are at putting him under pressure. And your unforced just goes through the roof, and suddenly you 4-love 3-1 down, and you don't understand how it happened.
He is amazing. Is he the greatest touch tennis player ever so far?
Sorry, your audio just went there.
Is he the greatest?
Gone again, mate. Gone again. It's gone again. It's gone again. It's something really stupid and garbled came out, and I can't believe anyone would have said something that stupid.
The second GOAT.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I've got to say, I'm really impressed with Hassan. Whenever I watch him play, he's pretty incredible. But hey, when you guys did a slam over in Spain, some of those Spanish guys, Jesus.
Yeah, they were animals. Yeah, some of them were very, very good. The best thing was, though, that they just got chopped. But wait till they start taking it seriously in training and practicing. Which will take another year and a half. And when they do, by September, when the slam comes around next September, not this one coming, but the one after, I think that's when you'll start to see it get tougher and tougher for Miotto and Hassan to win majors, because those stumbling blocks that you get along the way, it's one of the reasons why I don't consider Federer the greatest of all time, or Rafa, or Djokovic. and it's the system of 32 seeds. I think in the old days when you won slams with 16 seeds was tougher. You know, again, you would find Yuri Novak first round or Wayne Ferreira second round, like real banana skins in your way. That's why I think that era was greater. But so what happens is guys like Hassan and Miyota, who at the moment are getting, sure, they're playing 6 matches to get to the final, but 2 or 3 of them are kind of a cakewalk. When that starts to become a brutal slugfest from round 1 till the final, will they still have anything left in the tank in the semi-finals to take on a Spaniard, let's say, who's in absolute peak physical condition and has that lovely attitude that the Spaniards used to come to a clay court with? And it was this: beat me. I'm not going to hit winners, beat me. And they would just, do you remember Correccia, Costa, these guys, Berasategui, just grinding from 9 meters behind the baseline with the filthiest heavy top spinning balls and saying, beat me. I think those guys will be tough. And so, yeah, that price you pay. I love what Sampras said. He said, you can't win a slam in the first week. And that's where I thought cost Henman a lot of the time, is that he would go 4 or 5 sets with too many players. Come the second week, he was done. I think guys like Hassan and Miyota will have to up their game a great deal to avoid falling foul of that golden unwritten rule that you can't win a slam day 1. So our slams are 2 days. On the Saturday, if he gets his legs taken away from him, come Sunday, he can lose to anyone in the quarterfinals.
I mean, I have to say, we did ours in 1 day, and it almost killed me every single time, which is why Paul sort of took over the mantle from me. Right, look, we're running out of time, so I don't want to rush take any more of your time. We have our little quick fire questions, Rash, which simple answers, and then we can say our fond farewells. So I'm going to start. Then when Steve and I will alternate, and just quick fire answers from you. So I'll go first. Nadal or Djokovic?
I hate them both.
Next. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Real men drink coffee. Tea is for babies.
Serena or Venus?
Venus.
Indoor or outdoor?
What are we talking about here? Stuff we can get arrested for?
Playing touch tennis.
I was about to say, the stuff we can get arrested for, no thanks, indoors. But I'm not an exhibitionist. Outdoors, always. Sports should be played outdoors where possible.
Kyrgios or Johnny Mack?
What, who I'd like to slap in the face? Johnny Mack, because he actually achieved something. 7 majors, 77 doubles and 77 singles titles. So he has the right to an opinion. Earned it.
Shorts or trousers to wear?
To work or to play sport?
To play sport.
Okay, if you have to wear trousers, it's not sport. That's why snooker, cricket, they're not sports. If you have to wear trousers, it's not sport. And the same thing I said to Conor McGregor on Twitter, you know, when he was wearing trousers and practicing martial arts. It's not sport. I'm still to unblock him and stop hiding from him, but that's not the point. I think, if you got to wear trousers, it's not a sport.
I like that philosophy. I'm going to take to that.
It's organised loitering, like golf.
Can I just ask though, Rashid, where's your heritage from again?
My heritage?
Yeah.
A council estate in central London.
And then before that, when mums, grandparents.
Must be a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, I am a Liverpool fan, actually. And it's breaking my heart that we haven't won the trophy yet, but we will. My parents apparently are from Pakistan.
And you hate cricket?
I don't hate cricket. I just think it's a waste of time unless it's 5-a-side.
To be honest, I'm with you.
Yeah, 5-a-side cricket.
2020's all right.
Yeah, 2020's all right. 5-a-side would be okay if you used a spiked ball. Make it fun.
Okay, right, back to it. Rock or heavy metal?
Both. I play both.
I've even put here about your guitar. Your guitar playing is outstanding, by the way. Very impressive.
Don't know about that, but I love tinkering around with it.
Champions League or Premier League?
Premier League. No, Champions. Well, sorry, no, I mean Champions League. Champions League. I prefer the Champions League. Sorry, I prefer knockout.
Beach or city holiday?
Oh, beach.
Playing or commentating in sport?
Playing, always.
Tyson or Holyfield, if that stupidly happens?
You mean Mike Tyson against Holyfield in that charity match?
That they're considering doing.
Oh, at this age, Tyson, I mean, he'd kill him. Holyfield's like 10 years older than him and is literally limping around. Have you seen him?
I didn't realize it was that bad.
I mean, he's literally, when he walks, and his shoulders are all gone. I mean, you don't go from cruiserweight to heavyweight and take the beatings he took. And, he made a career of using his face as a guard. It's never going to end up well for you. It really isn't. A lovely guy, incredibly talented. But the shots he took, they really, really did. He paid a price for that.
So if you're speaking of UFC, McGregor or Khabib in the rematch?
I'll go with McGregor because Khabib made some really horrific, obnoxious comments about, homophobic comments that I just can't condone. So I hope he gets his ass kicked.
Everton or Manchester United, who would you rather beat?
Oh, always Man U. Always. See, I wouldn't even mind if Everton won the Champions League because they're a Liverpool team and they're just not scum.
I'd always support United over Liverpool 10 times out of 10. Shaven or unshaven? Beards, that is.
Yeah, just like I shave like once a week now. I'm so lazy. But I do shave. I don't just do what you've done.
Yeah, this is wild.
US Open or Australian Open?
Oh, US Open, because I can actually watch some of the matches, whereas the Australian Open, it's always in the middle of the afternoon at work. And
Instagram or Facebook?
Nowadays, Instagram.
I've now only got one, which is what is your dream holiday choice?
My dream holiday choice? Who the hell writes these questions?
Well, I'm fascinated by the fact that you spend a lot of time sort of walking around and you do quite a lot of countryside walks that are very beautiful, actually. So I thought you'd choose something along those lines.
If I could go anywhere on a dream vacation, it would probably be either the Appalachian Mountains or somewhere like the Transylvanian forests, something like that, and just go away for a week in one of those wooden huts and just be with nature. That would be one of the things I want to tick off my bucket list.
Amazing, yeah. And last one from me as well. Selfie or autograph?
Would I take a selfie with someone and give them an autograph?
They've come up to you. Or would you prefer a sign or a picture?
Are they paying more for one or the other?
The same.
They're paying the same price?
Yeah.
I'd let my agent decide.
Depends on the person asking.
Yeah, exactly. Do I really want a photograph with someone like you? I'd be like, no, But, Taylor Swift, okay, you know what? You can have an autograph and a selfie.
Who's your, just quickly, as you mentioned you're very good at guitar. Who were your inspirations growing up? Hendrix, obviously.
No, I never rated Hendrix, oddly enough. I never understood it. People always talked about what a great guitarist he was. And I can understand some of his influence and what he did with triplets and, triadic sort of chords. But my favorites were the blues guys, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, Johnny Shine, Robert Johnson. And then watching their influence on guys like Clapton, Van Halen, Angus Young. Those were my influences growing up. But it was always at heart, it was always the bluesmen. The old bluesmen, just what they could do with a guitar and what they went through to produce that music. If you think about the Depression and the original blues, the cotton picking, these were people that were still enslaved and they were working 8, 9, 10-hour shifts, and then they would go to a juke. So at a jukebox, which was like a place you'd go drinking and dancing, there'd be a human jukebox, and he would sit there with the guitar just going, "Cotton needs picking, He was basically the human jukebox. So his guitar was the rhythm, the melody, and his voice was the harmony, and all of that was one guy. And I thought, and he was trying to uplift people having gone through that during the day. And he himself will have done that too, or she. And you just think, wow, there's something so powerful in that. Yeah. So yeah, the blues was always it for me.
Amazing. But I think there's only probably one way to finish this Zoom. Get your guitar, give us a song.
Not a chance in the hell.
You mentioned Taylor Swift. I'm sure you know a few.
Jokes aside, like we, you know, I've got 3 daughters. We sit in the car, and I mean, they laugh and ridicule me for the fact that I'll stick Taylor Swift on, for example, on one of my playlists, and laugh along to whatever it's called, you know, Blank Space and stuff. But no, I don't know any of their songs. I couldn't play them to save my life. And if I get up to go to get the guitars, you'd lose me on this conversation, sadly.
Well, look, I'm just going to say a massive, massive thank you, Rash. I've got to be honest with you. I would love to bring you on again because I find your depth of knowledge on many, many, many subjects completely fascinating. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and giving us an hour of your time. And I'm sure everybody who's come on and the ones that will watch on YouTube and everything will have seen you in a far more humble but incredibly interesting way.
Isn't it funny? First of all, thank you so much for even having me, and anyone who was watching, thank you for an hour of your time and not getting fed up and putting abusive comments at the bottom. I just got a notification in the corner that said the All England Lawn Tennis Club Wimbledon update. So I'm going to share this with all of you. They've just said, Dear Rashid, this week on the 200th anniversary of Florence Nightingale's birth, it was announced that we are using the collective strength of the club, and that's really actually quite lovely. They're giving £1.2 million to these knocked up hospitals that we've created here in the UK. So isn't it beautiful when a sport of tennis can actually do something great like that? I think that's beautiful.
That is incredible. Thanks for sharing that as well, because do you know what, Rashid? One thing I've got to say, which is I've been so envious of you guys back in the UK, the way that the UK has been dealing with it, you know, from the self-employed coaches, et cetera, getting their income, getting some form of furlough, etc. It's just been brilliant. Here, we've had no support whatsoever, unfortunately, and yeah, just hearing things like that are just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Have I lost people?
Oh, he's gone.
Have I lost him? Oh no.
I think when you built him up and gave him such nice compliments.
He's back. Are you back there, Rash?
I've completely lost you there from the moment when you said envious of what we've got here in the UK, and that was it.
Okay, well, I'll be very quick. I'm very envious of the fact that the UK, the self-employed coaches, they've been getting like some support, etc., from the LTF. Yeah. It was amazing. And then you just finishing off with that story from the All England Club. I'm very proud to say I'm still British and very, very proud of what's going on back there.
Yeah, I am too. It's a good place to be at the moment. And I hope for everyone out there who is struggling that there's some light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, Rash, I would love to get you back on again. I'm going to pester you again for sure. And I just cannot thank you enough for your time.
Not at all. Thanks anyone who's watching.
Let me just say, I'm going to unmute everybody. And if they want to say goodbye, please do.
Thank you, Rash. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers, Justin.
Thanks so much, Rash. I'm going to go. Take care.
All the best.
Thank you.
Adios.
All the very best.